about it. I think that if there was a very structured, pared down grammar that was used for anonymizing text, it might break that rule, which maybe it's okay to break that rule in certain situations, but in our mind, we wanted to not raise any eyebrows, so to speak. So I think you're right in that if everyone was using a very simple structure, that it might be harder to detect who the authors are, but at the same time, also if it was very, very, very highly structured, maybe smaller features which would go unnoticed and larger, and normally could be very telling. You know, I'm not sure.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. It's no longer possible to stand in line for the questions. Only the people who are there, their answers are going to be. Well, Mike is going to answer them. So please.
Okay, just a short question. Have you got any indication that the effectiveness of stylometry varies with the language used? I mean, between English, I guess you did your research generally in English, but between English, German, or languages like Chinese or Arabic, for example?
Certainly the linguistic features we use are, not all of them are transferable to all languages. Some of them are, like when you're looking at German and English, sentence length is a feature in both of them. But you know, certain word choices might not be. When you're looking at languages with completely different alphabets, you're looking at potentially all new features. So in short, no, we didn't test it because all of our testing was only done in English, but I believe that there will be differences between different languages, yes.
Okay, last question at this mic.
I'm writing on a syntax highlighter, and I tried to do a syntax language recognition upon the source I insert, and I find it quite interesting to see there are different features and the style in which every source language is written. Do you have any idea of what can be done to improve this recognition, given random samples to automatically detect such languages? And the second part, can it be done to automatically learn the system to recognize different programming languages, for example?
So you're talking about in programming languages?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, I believe the things that you said are possible, should be quite possible, and in terms of identifying what language it is based on the syntax. Is that what you asked? Identifying what language it is?
Yes.
Yes, certainly.
And what features could be used to do this most efficiently?
I mean, I can only speculate. I'm not terribly familiar with the methods that they use for plagiarism detection in programming languages, but everything from, I mean, on the linguistic side, certainly you can look at how people name their variables and things like that, but I know it's much more complicated than that, and if you just change your variable names, but you're copying someone else's code, it's going to be found out as being plagiarized in these methods. Again, I'm sorry, I can't speak to it exactly because I'm not very familiar with them, but if you look up you know, source code, plagiarism detection, I'm sure you'll find a wealth of literature on that subject.
Well, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Could you address the moral aspects of your research, which essentially makes it easier and easier to identify people who might not want to be identified on the one hand, and also give us an overview of to what extent this kind of research is already used today to do just that?
That's a good question. The second one first, I can't say for sure, I can't point to any specific example where this has been used by a government or an employer to out someone. The scenarios I came up with were hypothetical. As to the moral implications, I did not invent stylometry. Far from it. It's been around for a very long time. These techniques have been around for a very long time. We're simply looking at, is there a way to get around it? We have no interest whatsoever in developing any sort of software that can automatically figure out who an author is. We're interested in developing software that can help you hide your authorship, hide your identity if you want to, not the other way around.
Okay, thank you. Okay, just 2 more questions, really quick.
Yeah, well, I was interested if you know how the way I communicate influence my style of language. For example, if you have a scientist and you have a set of data of published papers of scientific data, and you know this scientist wrote these papers, and now you have, for example, a set of emails or ICQ logs, can you still identify the ICQ logs of the author of the ICQ logs?
So you're saying if you have the papers, if you have research papers by this author, can you attach them to the ICQ logs?
Yeah.
In short, again, I don't know. I haven't done experiments on that in particular. My hunch would be that, again, it depends on the features. ICQ messages are going to be short in length generally. You're not going to have the paragraph features. I know a lot of people change their writing style when they're writing in different forms, which is why, in our case, we ask for formal writing samples from school, from research, from work and stuff like that, and not chat logs, not emails. So I would guess that it would be hard, but I don't think it would be impossible.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Last question.
I work in a field where an idiosyncratic or elegant or identifiable writing style is more a feature than a bug. My question would be whether there's a correlation, this relates to the question previously about dumbing down one style, whether there's a strong correlation between, say, the complexity measured through reading age of a text and the accuracy with which its author can be identified.
I would imagine that the more elegant the text is, the more fine details are in it, the easier it is to identify the author, sure.
Has any more specific research been done on that, or is it only imagination to rely on?
Beyond the research that we have done in this paper, we don't know of any other research that has looked at recognizing the authors of passages that were meant to circumvent the system. I hope more research will come out with it, and maybe someone can speak to that exactly and find out which authors are more susceptible to the others, but right now it's just based on my intuition from doing this research.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for your questions. Michael, yes. The needs you have from these people over here, from the audience.
Yeah.
You need to have people who want to participate in your research?
Yes, if you would like to, you can just go to the website dragonauth.com. There's also a link to it on our research group's website. And if you want to participate, it'll be open, it's just open. You can do it on your own time. It'll be around for hopefully a long time, and any help would be greatly appreciated.
Yes. And I think the need of a lot of people over here is how can you, how does this have to deal with writing a computer program?
Right.
So do you know if there are if there's any research to it, or that you're going to do it as well?
Yeah, I don't expect that we'll be looking at code and identifying authors of code. But again, there is a lot of work that has been done in plagiarism detection with source code. And if anyone's interested in that, I strongly suggest that you just do a quick search on literature and that. And if you want more, I'm sure I can go and find some more information, more specific papers, and get them to you. Feel free to send me an email.
Where can people find you right now? Where are you going to if they want to talk to you about this?
I will be right out this door here, I suppose.
Okay, so that's where you can find Mike. Please leave your feedback at the website. We really would like to know how you felt about this presentation. Thanks a lot, and within a few minutes the next presentation is coming up here. Thank you.